Hey guys, welcome back to the ZonCom podcast with your host, as always, Andrew Erickson. Today we're going to be talking about launching, how to launch a product, how to get a new product, get it on Amazon and get it sold and get those sales coming in. I am co-hosting this with our friend and returning guest, Mark Norton. Hey Mark, thanks for being here.
How you doing, buddy? Glad to be here again.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And so why don't you tell us real quick, Mark, where are you coming from right now?
So I'm coming from Pickering in Yorkshire in the UK.
Yorkshire. Wow, quite
Yorkshire.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're a British citizen. It's by your accent, I can tell you're not from California like me.
Absolutely. I wish I was.
Awesome. And so Mark, we have an in-depth with Mark that was published earlier. So if you want to check that out, you can just type in Mark Norton or just Mark. You should be able to find that episode in our feed. And today we're going to talk about launching. And so Mark actually hosts one of the launch parties. We call it launch work parties. Not lunch parties, but launch work parties inside of Titan. And so it's Mark talks every week to 50-ish people about launching and then the small intricacies of getting your product launched and ranking on Amazon. So Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about your launch history and learning and how you learned about this and kind of like some ideas around launching before we jump into the proper content.
Sure, yeah. So I've been selling since 2004 online, 2006, and I was in the UK, and we've kind of built up. Some of our products just built up over time. We were first to market a long time ago, so they've continued doing well. And then as I was a victim of using as many different sources of information as possible, and then kind of YouTube, Facebook groups, and then getting all the conflicting information and not really knowing which one to take advantage of. And then when we joined Titan as members, having seen the launch structure that was used, the next launch we did after that, we hit the actual top level category Bsr of 1 using the launch method. So
wow. So BSR 1. So for people who aren't familiar with that, BSR is a bestseller rank. So they rank every single product on Amazon is ranked in each category. So it's in all of Amazon, but in that category specifically. And Mark, using these launch techniques, became number 1 ranked in all of Amazon.uk, right?
In the musical instrument category.
In the music category, yeah. So number one in your niche, which is what we're going for, right? We're going for number 1 Absolutely. In our niche. We're going for the top in our niche, at least, right? So let's go ahead and jump into it. This podcast, I think, is going to be really, really actionable. And if you don't know much about launching, you're going to learn a lot. Even if you know a lot about launching, you're going to learn quite a bit on this episode. So this might be a re-listen for some people, and we'll try to have some notes in the show notes to kind of go through this outline, but you might even want to take out a pen and paper or type notes on your phone during this episode. So Mark, let's go ahead and start. I have written out here 6 steps to a proper product launch. But before we jump into the actual tactics of kind of like, here's these 3 actionable things we can do and this other 4 actionable things we can do, I always like learning about the strategy. Why do we do these things? Why? My favorite word, why. Instead of, we'll move into the how in a second, but why do we do launches?
Absolutely. And I think it's a really good thing to cover because people often, once you start getting to the mechanics of launching and your PPC and advertising and rebates and all this stuff and keyword research and all that stuff, sometimes people lose sight of what it is we're actually trying to achieve. And launching is effectively getting organic visibility, so visibility that you're not paying for, through achieving high rank for relevant keywords. So you find a relevant keyword that describes your product well, and we want to push that so that when somebody types that keyword in, with the first organic listing. And also, as part of this launch process, we want to build up reviews to get some social proof on our product.
Perfect. I love that. And the reason why we had to do these launch strategies instead of just listing our product is because you have these feedback mechanisms. You have these negative feedback and positive feedback loops on rank meaning where your product is on the page when you search for stuff. If you're on page, so Amazon basically ranks you higher if you have a lot of sales. And of course, so it means that the more sales you get, the more rank you get, which means more visibility, which means more sales, right? So if you have a lot of sales, you get a lot of sales. If you get a lot of sales, you continue to get a lot of sales. It's this beautiful positive feedback. More sales means more sales. However, the opposite happens as well. If you're on page 6 and no one will ever see you on page 6, no one ever scrolls down to page 6, right? I mean, think about your own behavior. When's the last time you actually scrolled down and actually purchased something on page 6? And maybe if you are a big scroller, you do go through multiple pages. You might not stop on page 6. Maybe you go all the way down to page 8 or you stop at 4, right? You're just not going to get any sales on page 6, right? And so if you never get any sales, then you never get any rank and you never get any visibility and you never get any sales. If you never get any sales, you continue to never get any sales. That's why we do launches. We basically want to jump from that negative feedback to that positive feedback, that the ugly feedback to the beautiful feedback. And the way we do that was we basically kind of like force these sales. We kick it in the butt to go from page 6 to page 1. So this launch technique is a butt kicking from page 6 to page 1.
Absolutely, and it something I run over quite a bit with people is I like that flywheel analogy, that for every single keyword, this flywheel's already going, that visibility gives sales and sales gives visibility, and it's going and going and going. And what we want to do for every keyword, we're breaking into that flywheel. I often think about it, like a kid's roundabout at a play park. It's like it's going, and if you're trying to get on it when it's spinning, yep. and it's working out the strategic way to get on that spinning thing, onto that spinning roundabout, but with keywords. So we jump onto that roundabout and take momentum from the other people that have that visibility, which creates sales for them, and we steal it for ourselves.
Perfect, exactly. And you can't just kind of like softly lean onto that roundabout, right? You have to get a running head start, and you have to leap, and you have to grab onto that merry-go-round. So Absolutely. This launch is how to run, leap, and grab that merry-go-round.
Absolutely.
And the big thing too. So yes, we want to get rank, but we also want to get social proof. We also want to get social proof. In this case, is reviews. That is really the most important thing to get on Amazon. Is get positive reviews, but really a count of reviews. Once you get past that like 20 review mark, you are kind of at a new elevated status. Once you get past that 100 review mark, you're at the next status. Once you get past 1,000, you're at the top status of listings. And so we want to, it takes time to get to 1,000, but we can kind of push through hard to get those first 20, and we can get those pretty confidently, pretty easily with these techniques.
That's a really interesting number I heard, Andrew, as well, is when you get to 5 reviews, the purchase likelihood increases 270%. Which is why those first few reviews are so important. Obviously, we can use other drivers to get the sales without the reviews to start with, but even those first 5 are super important.
Fantastic. So we have what's one of our 6 steps here is reviews and social proof. So these 6 steps to launching a product on Amazon, I'm going to cheat and put a step 0 in there. That step 0 is planning. Okay, so planning. We want to just think about how to do this, and we want to write out. We want to study and write out and figure out a plan on how to get our product in, how to get our product ready to go, ready for success, and then how to actually the targets we want to hit, and then how to hit them, and then actually execute and hit them, and then look back on our plan and make sure that we have done everything correctly. So planning, that's step 0. That one doesn't count. That's our before step. But our first step is kind of an easy one, but logistics. So we just want to make sure, again, this is part of the planning thing. We just want to make sure that our stuff shows up at the right time, everything shows up when it's supposed to. If you're engaging with other people, engaging with other platforms, engaging with other influencers and stuff, you just want to have a good timeline of when your stuff is going to show up. So part of the plan is knowing when your stuff is showing up. Make sure to add that extra little bit of time right now. Amazon's taking a little bit longer to check stuff in. So just plan those logistics. That's step 0 and 1. So Mark, why don't you tell us, the next one is picking keywords. How do you pick your keyword for launch?
Yeah, so very much we effectively take apart our competitors' listings so we can see the products that we believe we can compete with, and we use a process to see which keywords are they ranking for. So if we can find a like-for-like competitor with not too many reviews and are selling at a price that we'd be happy with and are selling a number of units and creating revenue that we're happy with, if we can find a few of those and unpick how are they achieving their current revenue, because we can very quickly emulate what they've done, which then gets us up to the same level as them, and then we can look at we can start climbing the ladder. Then we look at the next person who's maybe doing, let's say our competitors doing 10K a month. We can find out how they're doing that, emulate what they do, and then we can start looking, right, these next two guys are doing 20K a month. What additional keywords are they ranking for, and how can we climb up to that, that next rung of the ladder and keep working up accordingly. And a lot of that is driven by the advancement is driven by social proof, obviously. But as regards keywords, we tend to focus on 2 or 3 keywords at a time. It's possible to run more than that at one time, but we've got to keep an eye on this stuff and react accordingly. Now, we always we use a daily sales tracker, which measures all these metrics, so we can see the ranking moving up, and which is why we just focus on a few. You will rank for other keywords. There'll be long tail keywords and stuff that you can rank with PPC pretty easily. But we're thinking about the 80-20 rule. 8% of sales are going to come from a handful of keywords, and they're the ones that we focus on. They're the ones that we really drive. When we find a bunch of keywords, we'll use them all in PPC, but there'll only be some that we want to use rebates for example, if it needs that extra kick up. So we try to look for obviously there's 2 measures we can use: search volume from tools like Helium 10, or search frequency rank, which is obviously Amazon's own internal data points that they give us. Search frequency rank is more, it's a relative way of ranking stuff. Search and the search volumes are estimated, but we do try to look for we're looking for keywords that are kind of 1 to 10,000 searches a month, starting with the lower ones, and that normally translates search frequency rank sort of between 15 and 200K.
To clarify, it's 1,000 to 10,000 searches per month, and 15,000 search frequency rank to 200,000. So I told people before, I'm like 1 to 10,000. Oh, 1 to 10, 1 search per month. Like, no, sorry, 1,000 searches to 10,000.
Great point. Point.
Yeah, and exactly what Mark said. There's the 80-20 of kind of doing this. There's so many things you can measure. You can measure your conversion. You can measure your keyword rank on 480 keywords. There's like so many things to look at. And what we want to do is find some key indicators that tell us like how well our performance is doing and how well our launch is going and how well our rank is going. And so you want to find those 2 to 3 keywords that you're going to focus on. And those are the keywords you're going to launch to. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how to actually target these keywords in a launch. But with these keywords we're tracking, these are just indicators of how well everything's going, right? And so, like Mark said, 1,000 to 10,000 searches a month. And I use Helium 10 for that. I use their tool to figure out like how many monthly searches these keywords have. Oh, the other big thing too. So yes, we have a monthly search criteria, but there's lots of keywords, and so maybe 200,000 keywords that kind of fit this 1,000, 10,000 monthly searches. And the big thing we want to do is target highly relevant keyword, highly relevant to your product. So Mark, can you kind of tell us like what's a good indicator of what a highly relevant keyword is?
Sure. So going back to the example we used earlier, if we decide to pick apart, if we have 4 competitors that we're kind of chasing it, to get on the ladder initially, we can look for indicators. If all 4 of those guys are ranking well on a keyword, that's a pretty strong signal that it's very relevant to the product. So we're using the same deconstruction method of looking what everyone's doing. I mean, at a baseline level, you know the product that you're selling, and you know the keywords. You can see a list of keywords. The first kind of sniff test is, does this keyword describe what I'm selling? But does it describe it, when we think about the intent of a product, does it describe it very well? There's a ton of broad keywords, and we'll use the taco holder example. There's loads of different options if you don't know exactly what that person's looking for when you search for taco holder. If they search for taco holder stainless steel set of 4, yes, the search volume is lower, but it's so much more relevant if you're selling a set of 4 stainless steel taco holders. And trying to launch on broad keywords where you don't know the intent is effectively going to just eat up cash. And there's a relatively good chance when we start early without social proof, you could rank, but it'll just disappear again. So we're looking for that relevancy.
Yeah, you can launch these broad keywords, but it's going to be very difficult. So you could, if you have a phone case, you could launch a phone case, but that is going to cost a lot of money, and it's not going to give you the kind of results that you want. The big thing is if we target longer tail keywords, longer tail keywords, meaning the words are more specific, more targeted. Like Mark said, the taco holders set of 4 stainless steel, that's longer tail. That it's going to be much easier and much quicker to rank for that kind of keyword than it is for something like tacos or dinner set or kitchen accessories, right? So we want to find those highly relevant keywords. And like Mark said, it's something you want to know the intent behind that keyword. And one thing I like to do is kind of like a gut check, is when you search for this product, is it only your direct competitors that pop up on the first page? So I have here a great example is like mom gifts is a low relevant keyword because mom gifts would show a lot of things. It would show necklaces and flowers and all sorts of other kind of gifts that are kind of generic things for quote moms. However, a highly relevant keyword would be Christmas cookie scented candles. When you search that, I did search that, only Christmas cookie and sugar cookie scented candles pop up. So you might even want to get even more specific and say sugar cookie scented candles, right? Or maybe 18-hour sugar cookie scented candles, right? These are all highly relevant keywords compared to the mom gifts.
Another quick way that you can use if you're brand registered on Amazon is the brand analytics tool, which is an absolute goldmine of information. So if you find a keyword that you think, is super relevant for this, punch that into brand analytics and it'll give you a breakdown of the 3 most clicked ASINs and what share of all the sales for that keyword those guys are getting. And, it's a pretty strong signal if 3 direct competitors are snaffling up a big proportion of the market for that keyword. That's a pretty strong indicator that it's relevant for your product too.
Perfect. I love that. So brand analytics is that we have to do a whole episode on brand analytics. There's a lot of weird little pro tips on how to use brand analytics. The next thing, PPC. PPC is paid advertising on Amazon, pay per click, PPC. This also needs its own episode, probably needs its own series on how to do paid advertising. But we'll just go really quick into the idea of how to set up launches using PPC. So for me, I pick 30 to 60 keywords, phrases that is, and I set up exact match, which is like means that just that single word is being targeted. And I just target those. And I generally don't care about how much money I'm spending on PPC in the first week. I just want to get data. I'm buying data from Amazon with these exact match campaigns. And then after 1 week, we then start cutting out or bidding a little bit lower, cutting out some of the words that are really poorly converting. And we get our ACOS, our advertised ACOS is like basically kind of the performance metric of your advertising. We get that performance better and better as time goes on. And eventually we get down to break even advertising costs after about 2 months. But the first 2 weeks, I don't really care how much money I'm spending on it. I just want to get that visibility, get those sales, get that rank, and do that launch. Again, we're trying to go from page 6 to page 1. So get that visibility. So Mark, how do you do your PPC for launch?
I mean, like you say, I think we could run 10 podcast episodes on this, because there are so many PPC strategies, especially in the Facebook groups and stuff. There's you could go and say, how do I do PPC? And you would probably get about 20 or 30 different suggestions. The way we choose, again, going back to that keyword research, we're finding super relevant keywords. So we avoid using the auto, and we don't want Amazon to just go out and spend money willy-nilly. We're going to start and say, these are the keywords that I can see, my product is similar to these are the keywords my competition are doing well on. And we would go ahead and start with exact. So we're kind of teaching Amazon what we want to rank for and exactly what it is. And if you're working to a budget, there's nothing wrong at all with just starting with a small number of keywords in exact match, as long as those keywords are relevant and they're those keywords that your competition are already ranking on. That's a totally fine way to do it. Thinking about the 80-20 rule again, 80% of these sales are probably going to come from the exact match keywords from good keyword research, where they're relevant to your product, and you've got evidence from your competitors that they're relevant. And the other 20% could come from broad phrase, auto, all those other things that you want to do. But we're kind of trying to find the keywords up front rather than letting Amazon just fly around throwing money at stuff willy-nilly, trying to guess what it should, you should be shown for. So it's kind of a top-down approach rather than bottom-up.
Yep, I love that. And so, when do you ever start? Do you ever start an auto PPC campaign?
Yeah, I tend to leave it at least 2 weeks. So we kind of give it a couple of weeks where we're showing Amazon, this is what our product is, this is what we're relevant for. When we start seeing the results coming from that PPC, then Amazon's kind of clicked, and it's not going to. As an example, when going back, we spoke about my launch in America on the other podcast episode. And I started with it at the time. I thought, no, I'm going to start with an auto campaign. I think that was the thing at the time. And I looked after 3 days, and this product was an acrylic window bird feeder that sticks on a window. And I think I blew through about $50 a day for the search term spider catcher, which is an example that was mentioned nowhere in my listing. It wasn't in this, it wasn't anywhere. But if you start with auto, you're kind of giving Amazon free rein to come up with, crazy stuff like this and go off and do whatever it thinks. So we want to work the other way around.
Yeah, I have some stories about some of the keywords I've ranked for on auto campaign. A lot of them make a lot of sense. I'm like, okay, well, that word sort of, like, I understand why an algorithm would pick that. A human wouldn't pick that, but an algorithm would. But one time I got mermaid decor set up for one of my keywords, and one person one time, I guess, bought my stuff using mermaid decor, and we have nothing to do with decor or mermaids or any other nautical or anything at all. I'm like, what? Why am I ranking for this? Or why am I being charged for this? And here's $95 just blown on mermaid decor stuff. And so, yeah, you got to be really careful with your auto campaigns. So anyway, we got to have a whole episode on just managing auto campaigns for PPC. But the next thing I want to jump into, this is what step are we on now? We're on step number 3, is our listing. We need to make sure we have a great listing before we do a launch. It needs to be beautiful. It needs to read really well for a human. It especially needs to read really well for a computer. So again, we're not diving into like how to create a perfect listing right now, but just make sure you have all of everything optimized for your listing. And why don't you tell us a little bit, Mark, just a quick little primer here on picking keywords to kind of do your SEO on your listing.
Sure. So obviously those big high search volume keywords, like a root keyword as we would call it, so taco holder in our example, that a lot of people, that's the first keyword they would put into their title. But what we really want to do there is utilize that root keyword as part of a longer tail phrase. So we always start our titles with a long tail phrase that has some reasonable search volume, but also holds the root keyword in it. So we start off with a title, and there's it's a bit of art and a bit of science. I find that we need the words in there, but primarily, with whichever way you look at it, it's a human being that's going to buy this product. So while yes, the algorithm needs to see certain things, As long as if your listing gets visibility and gets a click, it's going to be the human aspect of this wording that's going to convert them into a buyer. So obviously, we don't keyword stuff. Certainly not in titles. It doesn't want to be just a constant list of keywords. And then another neat trick we do. Obviously, our bullet points should always be benefit driven, highlighting how this solves the customer problem, and then which of course will have a spattering of keywords throughout that content as well. And then we actually use those 5 bullet points to create the images 2 through 6. So obviously the first image is the hero image, which shows in the search results. 2 through 6 should kind of mirror those bullet points that we're using, which are benefit driven but keyword rich as well.
So you don't keyword stuff the title?
I guess when I said not keyword stuff, it doesn't want to just be a list of keywords. There's got to be some readability to it for a human. Yeah, it just doesn't want to be kind of taco holder, stainless steel, taco rack, taco shell holder.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's always a fine balance. It's hard to know. That's why it's always good to test and track and analyze and repeat. Right? Yeah, people have different opinions on keyword stuffing on all that stuff. So we generally try to get as many keywords as possible in the title. But just like Mark said, these are humans buying. The computers are ranking us, but humans are buying us. Right? And so we want to make it so that's still readable to a human, and we don't want to just put like weird random words in there just because we think we're going to rank well on them. It needs to be highly relevant stuff in our title and in our bullet points and everything else. I like the point you made there too, Mark, that you want your pictures. The pictures need to sell the product, but also kind of having them a little connected and associated with the keywords too makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of an example. If you were selling a water bottle that's designed for children, rather than thinking of features, the benefit, you want that person buying that to feel amazing that they're solving this problem of keeping their child hydrated. So you could lead that bullet point, for example, with be the most envied mum on the block because you're doing the right thing by your child. Then the images can show this happy child taking a drink of water. You've got to, and then marry those up. So your 5 bullet points should be the 5. The driving motion. So when someone reads this, it's like, yes, I want that to happen. Yes, this is how I want things to be. And then your images can match those. Obviously, there's millions of ways to do these images with infographics and lifestyle images. But in general, if you can make them follow that trail of your bullets, and then whichever way they look, whether they're the type of person who does a lot with images, or they're the type of person who reads, they're going to get the same set of benefits whichever way they do it. And if they do both, it's just bolstering up the theory behind. If they've already looked at the images, then they're getting that it's been reinforced with the bullets.
Yep, perfect. And this is why we want to have our listing set up before we do a launch. There's no point in putting up terrible photos and bad copy and then trying to launch and spending $3,000, $10,000 on a launch when you don't have all the stuff in place to make sure you can get the attention and convert those people and hopefully drive those conversions into reviews. So listing optimization, get everything set up, beautiful, gorgeous, ready to go before your launch. Now let's jump into the actual mechanics of a launch. This is step number 5. This is the actual targeted how to rank and how the technical stuff on how to actually rank. What I do is I identify a few keywords like we mentioned, and I want to get in the top 3 rank for those keywords. Hopefully number 1, but at least top 3. I want to sustain that rank for several weeks. And also I want to make sure I hit my target units sold. And target units sold, it's kind of hard to say because like obviously I could just target like 500 units a day. That'd be fantastic. Let's do that, right? But like that doesn't always work out that way. So we want to figure out how many units we want to sell and where we want our rank to be. For me, I target all my competitors that have between 50 and 300 reviews. if those products have about that number of reviews, and assuming they're not some big brand or whatever, I figured like at that point I can do a launch, get my listing set up, and I can match the sales of those products that have 50 to 300 reviews. So in this case, let's just assume it's 15 units a day, right? So we'll kind of go with that number. So Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit like how to target? Now, if we're targeting 15 keywords, 15 units sold per day, how would you set up a launch, and how do you do your rebates and other kind of magic stuff to get that 15 units a day?
Sure. So we've got to bear in mind here that we are, that's 15 units total per day. That's not rebates. We're looking for 15 units total. So we've already got exact match PPC running on this product as well. So we would expect to see some sales coming through from that. So we don't want to give away 15 units a day. We want to probably aim for about maybe half of that. And I think a very common misconception is that you need to give away like all these units every day. I've got to go crazy and keep giving and keep giving. It's going to cost a fortune. And it's if you start, you can start with like 2 to 5 rebates a day per keyword. And the idea here is that we track this. This is why, recording the data of every day of checking your ranking, seeing how much PPC ad spend is becoming a part of this. Measuring all this stuff is so important, because sometimes we find if you can go aggressive with PPC, you might get to middle of page 1, towards the top of page 1. Sometimes depends on the category, the product. PPC can get you a long way there, especially aggressive PPC. And if you're using a pricing strategy that makes it so people would happily, if you price lower, so people would happily buy yours, you're kind of trading lack of reviews for price. Then the PPC becomes quite effective, and you'll start getting up there. You'll start seeing a good shift just with PPC, but then layering those rebates and just track this. So you implement, track, and then monitor, and then you make a decision. You'll review the data and say, if you see your organic ranking kind of just stay still, then that's a sign that you're going to need to give it some more gas to get to jump up to that next point, to get up into the top 3 positions.
Mark, let's explore a little bit about what a giveaway and what a rebate is. So we're basically, we want these sales to happen. We want to force them to happen on Amazon, right? And like we said, we're trying to get from page 6 to page 1. So we want to kick this product in the butt and get it launched up, and we want to force those sales. How do we force those sales? Well, we can pay for them. We can kind of bribe people to buy our stuff. There's lots of different ways to do this. Bribing, there's lots of black hat ways to do this. There's also white hat ways to do this, and we're going to describe the white hat ways to do this. Black hat means like illegal techniques. These are proper techniques that are widely accepted in the community as being proper techniques and are inside of the Amazon terms of service. So these giveaways, these rebates, whatever we want to call them, we just want to force 15 sales to happen per day for several weeks. And that will just kind of naturally kick us from page 6 to page 1. Certain ways to do it that are a little bit more effective than others, but we just want to make that happen. One way of doing that, there's lots of ways of doing it. You could do an email blast. You can have social media. You can drop your price, like Mark said, a lot. You can increase your PPC and spend crazy amounts of money on PPC. These are all ways to kind of force those sales to happen. But the best way, the best, most effective, most targeted, and cheapest way to do this is what we call a search, find, buy, rebate campaign. SFB is how people, the acronym, if you want to look up online, search, find, buy, rebate campaign. So Mark, why don't you tell us, how do you do a search, find, buy campaign?
Sure. So effectively, we send traffic into a messenger bot, which is a pre-written flow. So when someone clicks on an ad, Facebook ads are the most common ways to do this. So you would put an advert on Facebook to your target audience. So for example, on Facebook, you could say, let's go back to taco holders. You could say that show this to people who like tacos, who shop on Amazon. There's behaviors in Facebook that we can use, like engage shoppers. And it's going to filter down and find you people that are very likely to want this product. And that puts them into it takes them into Facebook Messenger. Now we use some software called ManyChat, which effectively takes over the conversation that actually happens through Messenger and automates everything. So when someone clicks on this ad, they're going to get a welcome message saying, "Hey, thanks for joining. Did you want to? Would you like a 100% rebate on our taco holder?" They click yes, and then it moves on to the next section. And these flows are, there's free flows available out there that do all this for you. And then effectively, when it comes to the point where the buyer says, "Yes, I want to do this," we're going to give them instruction to just head to either their Amazon app or to visit Amazon.com, and then we're going to give them the keyword that we want to rank for, and we're going to show them a picture of the product and say, "Search this keyword and buy this product," which mimics 100% the normal experience of an everyday shopper on Amazon. Somebody would pick up their phone, type in a keyword, find a product that they want, buy it. Now, in the back end of this, in the background, away from Amazon's site, so Amazon just sees a full price purchase and everything's hunky dory, and they give you a little more love for that keyword, and it's going to help you rank. We actually process a rebate, so we give them their money back. Again, there's various means to process that payment. You can do it with PayPal, Visa gift cards, Amazon gift cards. There's a ton of ways that and all this is automated as well, so it's pretty hands off. So we're effectively manufacturing the number of sales we want per day for each of these keywords in order to push that up. And then as we see our organic ranking rise, we will then naturally start getting sales from those organic listings, and we can start pulling away on our rebates. And eventually, as the organic ranking goes up, the number of rebates comes down until we just kind of phase them out, and you're left with a high organic ranking.
Perfect. Yeah. So we use ManyChat. We've talked about ManyChat a lot on this podcast. If you want to learn more about ManyChat, just search for it in the episode guide. ManyChat, ManyChat, whatever. So ManyChat, and basically just bribe people to go buy our stuff on Amazon. We just say, "Hey, it costs $20. Go buy it full price. I'll give you $20. That's it. And search for it. Search for it. Here's go search for it. It's on page 2. It's on page 6. It's somewhere." We actually kind of put a little bit of a game around it. We say that you're going to have to work for the full rebate. All you have to do is go play the scavenger hunt game. Scavenger hunt is go ahead and type in this keyword, and you should find it around page 3, but it might be anywhere between the bottom of page 1 and all the way down to page 7. It's definitely there, and here's a picture of it, so go find it. People get kind of excited about it, and it turns into this fun little game, right? Instead of being a kind of like like here's a boring 6-step process and like it's kind of boring instructions. It's like a fun game, right? And we do that, and it ranks us very quickly for very efficiently meaning cheap. And of course, people always say like, "Oh, well, I spent all this money. I spent $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 on this product. I don't want to give it away for free. I want to give it away for a profit," right? But the point here is we don't care about profit. We only care about getting those sales, to get that rank, to get that visibility. We are paying and playing the game to get our products launched and get our products ranked and get those sales later.
Yeah, just to add a side piece to that as well. Obviously, there are lots of ways to launch. You can use URLs, which we don't recommend. Deep discount codes don't work anymore. You can use influencers. There's a ton of different ways of getting traffic, but as the most consistent way that works every time, search, find, buy from a Facebook ad is the most straightforward to set up, and it just works every time. So there are, just to add that proviso in, there are other ways to launch. You'll probably have heard other ways to launch. This is the most effective and the one that we see the most success with.
Yep, exactly. And we do this, and it works really well. So next thing we want to talk about, now we're on step 5, actually. Step 5 of 6 is getting that social proof, getting those reviews. So there are ways to get good amount of reviews, honestly, without using black hat techniques. And you can do this during a launch if you focus on reviews. We find that getting 30 to 50 reviews during a launch is very attainable. That's kind of our goal. Inside of a month or 6 weeks to get those 30 to 50 reviews. We do use Vine. Vine is a special program that Amazon has. There used to be a program called Early Reviewer Program, but that went away in March of this year. So Vine is fantastic. Just max it out. I don't know how much it costs, like $60 or whatever it is. Just do it. It's great. We also do a review follow-up with our ManyChat stuff. It is automated. We also have a human follow-up with those people as well. Do be careful about terms of service with asking for reviews on rebates. It can be against terms of service, so be really careful with that. But if you do it correctly, it's proper way of doing it. Of course, all the other techniques to request a review and all that other stuff. If you do this correctly, you should be able to get a decent review velocity. We target 5 to 10%. 5 to 10% of our orders should result in reviews. And we do make sure to never exceed 10% review conversion rate, because Amazon starts giving yellow and red flags when you start getting too many reviews. I think you're doing something shady. So anything else to add on that, Mark, for reviews?
Just really briefly, obviously there's a really big misconception out there in the Amazon world about asking for reviews, and it is not mentioned in any single place that it's against terms of service for you to ask for a review, whether it's through ManyChat, whether it's you can send a carrier pigeon asking, whatever. What's against terms of service is incentivizing people, asking people to leave you a specific type of review and trying to direct people in different ways. So in ManyChat, for example, if you said, how would you rate this? And if they click 5-star, you then go and ask them to leave a review. But if they click 1-star, you reroute that to customer service. That's what Amazon doesn't like. So it's totally fine to ask, to ask for a review, however you want to ask for a review, but just avoid those things.
And that's a great point. Yeah, and also we are not giving them the rebate. Hey, search for this and buy it, and you get your rebate 100% of the time. Done. Now that you've received your rebate, I'm going to ask if you can leave me an honest review. You are welcome to do that or not. You're welcome to give me a 1-star or a 5-star. I hope you don't. I'm thinking inside my head, I hope you don't give me a 1-star, right? But that's how we do it inside of terms of service. They always get the rebate, so that's not incentivized. And we always ask for an honest review, so that's not review gating.
Sweet. And that kind of comes back down to like with the Vine thing as well. If for you to go out there and with the Vine program, or to just say, will you give me an honest review? It all comes back to that good product. You've got to be sure that this product is doing what it says it will, that it's good quality. If you go and put a rubbish product into the Vine program, you could well be asking for trouble, because those guys they're going to give honest reviews. So the product underpins everything on this.
Exactly. Great point. Okay. Our last step number 6 is tracking and updating your plan. Rule 0 was make a plan. Step 0 was make a plan. Step 6 is track it, follow through on it, and update your plan. Update based on performance of your stuff. So I always have this, I love this analysis feedback loop, lots more feedback loops, right? We want to do a thing, track a thing, analyze a thing, repeat. Do, track, analyze over and over and over again, especially during a launch, because launches are very kind of like data driven. We're talking about rank, we're talking about reviews, we're talking about these different things. So Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you use a daily sales tracker to kind of track your launch?
Yeah, so this is a sheet that we have, and we have especially through launches, we have our VA go in and add the numbers into this every day. So in that, we're tracking things like sessions, the kind of stuff you get from Amazon business reports, sessions, unit session percentage, number of units sold, kind of how much you're spending on PPC, what the split between PPC and organic sales is, how many rebates we've given in keyword rank. I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see during launch, having said that we should monitor this and adjust, is monitoring stuff too often. Tweaking stuff too often.
Good point.
People have and I've seen this so many times when people, if they show me their sales tracker sheets, where it's kind of, I went and changed this on my PPC, and then the next day I went and changed this on my PPC, and then the next day I went and changed this on my PPC, and the next day I changed this on my PPC, and nothing has time to actually take effect in order for you to make any sense of the numbers. Now, obviously, we we do check our PPC, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week during a launch. But literally, that's mostly all we're doing with there is making sure there's no crazy spend, which we shouldn't have if we've set the PPC up top down. So we're telling, use exact and worry about the auto stuff later. So we're checking that we're not bleeding on irrelevant keywords, and just making sure that we are bidding high enough to get impressions. Obviously, while I'm saying don't fiddle about too much, if a keyword's not getting the impressions, you've got to do something about that. But avoid doing something every day up, bid up, bid up, bid up, bid down. Avoid all that. Just, you've got to give it time for things to happen and for that to reflect in the data.
Yes, I love that. And what we do is I try to track a launch 3 times a week. For me, it ends up being like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's kind of what that's just a good cadence every 2 days ish. And when I say track, I like that. Good point. That's a good point that you have that. I'm not fiddling too much. I like that. That's a good Englishism, fiddling.
Absolutely.
So I do look at it 3 times a week. I probably fiddle with it maybe like once a week or twice a week at the most. And whatever thing I'm fiddling with, I don't do it on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. I might be fiddling with my PPC on Monday. I might be changing my number of rebates I'm giving on Wednesday. I might be switching out whatever, updating a bullet point on Friday kind of thing. I mean, even that might be a little too much fiddling, right? But I'm letting stuff sit for like a week ish and then changing as the data comes in, but just looking at it. So being aware, but not fiddling too much.
Absolutely.
And the big thing here to track and update is if you're not getting enough rank, just do more rebates. If you're not hitting your unit sales goal, then really do more rebates or do more PPC. And if you're not getting enough reviews, start increasing your aggressiveness on reviews. Again, we're not using black hat techniques, but there's more aggressive ways to get reviews that are within terms of service. So those are kind of like the things that we want to do, like rank and sales and PPC and reviews. Just adjust those as you go on.
Just something else to cover as well, which we sometimes see people. I've seen people kind of in Facebook groups saying, "Oh, just go hard at rebates," and it's like you need that PPC in there, because when you start offering people free stuff, 100% of them that click through are gonna buy it because they buy it and they get the money back, and that results in 100% conversion rate, which just looks unnatural to Amazon. So the fact that PPC doesn't convert at 100%, if it converts at 20%, which is a reasonable conversion rate in PPC, it's bringing out that overall conversion rate. It's the rebates give, it's bringing that down. So it doesn't kind of raise a red flag in Amazon's eyes that, hang on, how come this guy's had 100% conversion rate for 3 weeks straight? The PPC not converting every single time helps balance that out.
Exactly. That's a great point. And that's why I also layer in there, and I didn't want to get too much into social media campaigns for launching, but we do a fairly aggressive social media stuff. So we do engage with influencers and we have our own social media following. And we just basically tell people like, hey, this stuff is coming out. Do you want it? If you want it, like, come buy it. And the nice thing is that when we do that, we can layer in. So I know not everyone has a good social media strategy, so you don't need it. It is really useful if you do have it, but you don't need it. But like Mark said, having that 1, 2, and maybe even 3, 4 punch is fantastic. Punch hard with PPC, punch hard with rebates. If you can, punch hard with social media and your own audience, that is. And then if you can, punch hard with influencers. And if you kind of have those multiple streams of traffic coming on your listing, you can crush it.
Absolutely. And going back to the reviews, ultimately we could talk techniques to get reviews all we want, but they come from sales. So you've got to make the sales to get the reviews, because it's not going to go the other way around. So yeah, reviews come from sales.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so we talked about the 6 steps. We have step 0, the cheat one, is the plan. Plan everything, right? All these things are just the plan, right? Step 1 is knowing your logistics, knowing when to schedule things, and having that plan all the way kind of fleshed out and ready to go. Number 2 is picking your keywords. Number 3 is setting up your listing, getting your listing ready for success. Step 4 is picking your target and picking your target unit sold and doing your launch campaign, actually executing on it and hitting your rank. Number 5 was reviews and social proof. And number 6 was track and update your plan and do it all over. Do track, analyze, do track, analyze over and over again. So Mark, thanks so much for being here. Is there any last things you want to say before we jump off on launching?
Track. If you ask me one word, track. Know the numbers. If you don't know the numbers, you're working in the dark. You'll never know what to do to fix it.
There you go. Perfect. I love it, Mark. So we mentioned at the top of the hour, Mark is a leader with me inside of the Titan Network. We talk about this stuff all the time inside of Titan. So if you're interested in that, you can check out the show notes. There is a link to join the Titan Network, which focuses on Amazon private label. Also, Helium 10 is a tool that I use for all of these things. We use it to find the keywords that are ranking well for our competitors. We use it to track our keywords to know exactly where we are every single day. It tells us we're rank 5, we're rank 1, we're rank 20 on these different keywords. And you can track, I think it's like 2,000 keywords or something like that. But for us, we track 50 to 100 keywords per ASIN. And so those tools are absolutely critical for us to also listing optimization. We use a tool inside of Helium 10 called Scribbles to make sure our keywords are in our listings. So if you aren't using Helium 10, you can use my discount code, which is ZonCon10, ZonCon10. That gives you 10% off for life. If you don't want to do life, you just want to commit to 1 month, you can use ZonCon50, and they'll give you 50% off for the first month that you use that tool. Again, if you're going to do a launch, if you're going to do this business properly, you need these kinds of software to make sure that you are identifying the right keywords, you're getting the listing set up correctly, and you're launching, and you're, just like what Mark said, tracking what you're doing. Guys, I hope you learned a lot. I hope this wasn't too fast. I hope you have a full page of notes after talking about this for a whole hour. And Mark, I want to say thank you very much for coming on and giving us a little bit of enlightenment around proper product launching.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey guys, if you found value from this episode, I would love if you could tell the world. And if you don't want to tell the entire world, I would love for you to tell iTunes at least. If you can go to iTunes, if you listen to this podcast on iTunes, go ahead and go leave us a review. I have a few here that are amazing that I love to read out. I read every single review that's posted. This one is a review from Amber K. If you're looking for a podcast to efficiently learn hacks to grow your Amazon business, this is it. Andrew's wealth of knowledge is abundant and generously shares it all for this podcast. The latest and greatest information to push to your business to the next level is right here. Stop reading this review and tap play. Nice. Oh, I love it, Amber K. Thank you so much for doing that. So if you think you have a review that is equal or better than Amber K's, or worse, whatever. If you don't like me, that's cool. You can tell me too, whatever. Go to iTunes, leave a review. Also, Spotify now is allowing ratings. So please go onto Spotify, and super easy. You don't even have to write anything. You just hit 5 stars and leave that review. You know, as an Amazon seller, how important reviews are to your business. I am asking you, at the goodness of your heart, please leave me a review as well. Thanks.